I call the honourable member Lewissa Wall. Tēnā koe, Ms Wall.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker, and can I begin by congratulating you on what was a wonderful valedictory speech last night with the other members of the House who gave their valedictories, but as a colleague from an adjoining electorate, I want to pay tribute to the work that you've done in South Auckland and the work that you will continue to do, and thank you very much for the way in which you've helped me in terms of understanding the processes in the House, and I certainly wish you all the best for the future. I also want to begin by congratulating our Commonwealth Games team. We got our 12th gold medal this morning. Congratulations, Val Adams. And it's the 600th medal that New Zealand has won in the Commonwealth Games. And I think as a country, we are certainly a superpower within the domain of sport, which is why this Crimes Match-Fixing Amendment Bill is actually so important. I too want to wish the Black Ferns all the best. If they win in France, that's 5 World Championships in a row. I think it's a pretty outstanding achievement, and maybe they'll be a finalist in the Steinlager Rugby Awards this year if they achieve that feat. They've never been a finalist, and this could be an opportunity for the New Zealand Rugby Union to acknowledge them. Oh, well, maybe this will be the pinnacle for them. That's correct, Mr Mallard. To the bill, Labor does support the bill, and as Labor's associate spokesperson for sport and recreation, I'm going to just highlight a few points about why this bill is really important. So this bill will criminalise core match-fixing behaviour. From the regulatory impact statement, the focus on core match fixing is for several reasons, and the first of which is about core match fixing behaviour presents the biggest risk to the integrity, growth and development of sport in New Zealand. Sport in New Zealand contributes over $5 billion to our economy, and I think what we've seen this week is that in addition to that economic benefit, it also contributes to our sense of identity, our sense of pride and actually our place in the world. So the reality of this bill is that if anything is going to challenge or inhibit or actually interfere with sport and the place it has in terms of our society, then we must do all that we can. The context of sports betting in New Zealand is interesting. From the DIA website, the 2012-13 statistics is that gambling in New Zealand is a $2.1 billion industry. But in terms of specific TAB sports betting, it totals $294 million. Now, that's a lot of money, and I can see why some people would be interested in putting some of that money in their pockets and doing things that are completely contrary to what sport's all about. Having been a sports person myself, sport actually provides the opportunity to set goals, to work hard, to invest time, effort, energy, family, community support to achieve a gold medal or a personal best, which is actually what sport's all about. So the contribution of sport to our society in terms of providing the framework for people to be successful and to achieve and to be part of teams, I don't think should be underestimated. The second part of the regulatory impact statement I want to highlight is that a more significant set of offences would likely be unachievable within the time available. So we want this bill enacted by the end of the year because of the Cricket World Cup, and the Honourable Trevor Mallard is absolutely right that a one-day cricket match generates over $6 million of sports betting. So when we look at that context, actually it's incumbent on us to enact a piece of legislation before the Cricket World Cup that will begin in early 2015. The other context that I wanted to highlight was actually around other sports codes and or sports codes, sorry, and their responsibility within the context of sports betting. And I'm going to take a counter view to the Honourable Trevor Mallard in that I actually endorse the IRB's anti-corruption policy. They've been really staunch. They've been really staunch about this because they think that this is a big threat to the integrity of their code. So if you are caught participating in match fixing, that is a lifetime ban. If you are caught betting once, that you can be banned for a year. But what I want to highlight is that the NRL, for example, have been incredibly proactive. And in fact, they banned David Williams, who plays for Manly, for the remainder of the season because they had caught him betting not only on other NRL matches, but matches where he was involved himself. And they took a very staunch stance. And there were other players who were caught betting and they got a 2-game suspension. But the relevance of any information, Mr Mallard, can be seen from the weekend, actually. So the Warriors were playing Manly. No one knew that Shaun Johnson was injured up to almost before kick-off. What's the relevance? Actually, Shaun Johnson's a very good player. And anybody that's been watching the Warriors lately would have seen what an instrumental player he is. And actually, he does have an ability to affect the outcome of the match. So someone knowing that Shaun Johnson was injured and he wasn't going to play would have affected somebody's ability to or not to make a bet. So if anybody gets any information, any inside information that then puts them at an advantage to make a bet and to make money, actually absolutely falls within the remit of this piece of legislation. And I guess the third point from the regulatory impact statement was that we don't anticipate high levels of corruption. But the reality is that there is an international threat within the context of sports betting and match fixing because sport is a huge business today. And so I want to congratulate the Minister for bringing this bill to the House. I want to congratulate my colleague, the Honourable Trevor Mallard, for being involved in discussions with the Minister. This is one of those pieces of legislation that has support across the House, and so we will be doing everything that we can to support the passage of the legislation. And finally, I just want to congratulate Kieran Smith, Rob Waddell and the team at the Commonwealth Games, and particularly the cyclists, because what I've seen in their teamwork is an ability for some of them to put in the hard yards and to, during the race, without an expectation that they're going to get a medal. And I think that that level of teamwork kind of epitomises what I would like to see across society, actually, that it's all about the greater good. It's all about an outcome where New Zealand gets a medal, and it's not about the individual doing what they do for based on self-interest, but actually based on their identification within something that's bigger than themselves. New Zealand cycling team, but fundamentally doing what they do because they're proud to be New Zealanders. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
I call Mark Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'll just take a short call on the Crimes Match Fixing Amendment Bill.